This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring former FBI Special Agent and Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, Robin Dreeke.
When you look at the case and you look back at Ashley Benefield and Doug Benefield, I mean, there is a piece to her story that I don't think just happens in a bubble. I think there's more to it, and I don't know what the extent of it is, but there is the story of at one point he draws a gun, shoots it into the ceiling. And I mean, even his daughter, Ava, had testified, yeah, she saw the hole in the ceiling. That's not normal behavior to pull a gun and shoot it into your ceiling in any way, shape, or form. That's traumatizing if anybody draws a gun, period. So it gives me a little pause and a little more understanding if her thinking is, what is he capable of? If he did this one time, what could he do? Especially if she's already kind of an on-edge person, an impulsive person, and, you know, kind of goes to the nth degree in her thinking of, you know, worst case thinking, which she might. She's very impulsive. If there was some sort of an argument that day, regardless of who caused it, why it started, or what, if it's justified or not, if someone's done that to you in the past, you may be a little more cautious and you may be a little more scared for your own safety, knowing what they've been capable of in the past.
No doubt, you know, because we don't know how she reacted to it. We don't know how she internalized it. And because again, I don't have good context of the impetus for that event, because that, to him, from everything we're also seeing, that's also an extreme outlier. It is. And people have extreme outliers. Mm-hmm. Was it, you know, what led up to that? And is he then displaying the same behaviors in front of her, which led her to the self-defense because she's fearful? There's so many, I think, because you have such a incongruent mental state between him and his lifelong experiences because of his age and what he's been through in life, and her youngness of brain and experiences. I think there's such a disconnect that's where I think a lot of the challenges with his communication and context is really at odds a lot of times. Yeah. I know it sounds like I'm grasping at straws at this, but it's just challenging to try to understand, because both of them are not in sync with each other, obviously. No. And I'm trying to understand how and why that's happening, because she's going on wild swings. He seems pretty congruent. You know, we have one outlier of shooting the ceiling. I would love to know what really happened there, but see what I mean? It's just, it's
incongruent. And it's not beyond the scope of understanding to think, I mean, especially, you know, young people, kids, especially, you get into your early 20s too, which she was, you know, to get your way, to get what you want. Sometimes you go on wild swings. Sometimes, and it never excuses anybody's bad behavior or abusive behavior, but it can be abusive to go on those wild swings sometimes and keep pushing somebody and pushing somebody and pushing somebody until they end up going into outlying behavior, like pulling the gun. I mean, if that's very uncommon for him to do something like that, how did he get there? And it's not to blame the victim, but sometimes people will push and push and push until they get to the place of turning that person who's not a monster into a monster through manipulation and abuse. It can go both ways. Never excuses it, never has a reason to it, but people are people, humans are humans. They're going to do what they're going to do. And I just wonder if she had this goal of, I only want my kid for me. I don't want him in the picture. I'm going to push and push and push him and manipulate because that's how I know how to get what I want in life. And eventually bad things happen. And eventually you get into situations that are scary, and eventually got to a situation where she could say that she pulled the gun. Now, is that what she consciously did? I don't know. But I do wonder if that's kind of a subconscious behavior of pushing and pushing and pushing someone to the point of you know, them getting to a very bad state, and then it's, oh my gosh, I'm the victim here. But what caused this whole situation to come about?
I'm really curious where the idea of that came into her head.
Yeah.
So again, continue looking at behavior patterns, her escalating to that extreme violence is from 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no history, at least from what we've seen, of her going to that kind of violent reaction. He had one incidence of it that's been, claimed with shooting the ceiling. Okay, but where did she get the idea that that's a way to resolve this problem from 0 to 100? And also, his behavior being so easygoing, well, perception wise, showing up, doing the move and everything. So he wasn't expecting a 0 to 100 in the way it manifested itself either. So again, I keep going back to who put that in her head that this is the way we solve this problem. It's just.
And if that's the only way you know how to solve problems, I'm just conjecture, I'm going to guess probably upbringing, probably something in that, whether it be parental or whatever it may be, friends, parent, whoever. If that's all you know and you're that age, that's what you're going to go to. You're going to go to that sort of thinking if you don't know any other way of solving problems. Let's take a look at this video. This is the defense telling the jury about what they claim took place that night.
Fearing for her life, she heads for her bedroom where she has a firearm. She gets to the firearm, she turns around, she orders Doug to stop. When she looks up, he's in the doorway. Instead of seeing the gun and leaving, Doug gets into this warrior pose with his arms moving purposely and advances. At that point, petrified, she fires, believing that if he gets a hold of her, she will be either seriously injured or killed. To her horror, after firing, he continues to advance. She absolutely panics. She tries to get away and backs to the side to create more distance between them, but there is no place left for her to go in this small bedroom. At that point, in utter panic, she keeps firing the gun. She sees Doug's legs go up in the air, almost as if he was running and slipped, and he falls backwards. Instinctively, she flees the house and heads next door to John Sant's house.
She may be a great actress, but I think she believes her narrative.
100%. Interesting phraseology, which I think explains some of this. Warrior pose.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? So again, this is what I call really deep empathy. Deep empathy. When you hear those words, think of yourself. When would I use words like that? Well, she's telling a story. Not a story like fictitious story. She, in that moment, using the warrior poses, she sees the world through a fantasization of what reality is. Mm-hmm. And as she's seeing it, she's seeing a warrior coming at her. And so in her mind, she's playing out and maybe projecting forward what this warrior is going to do to her. And that's what gives her that context of fear, rather than being based in reality, based on a behavior arc she's seen. Because again, she's living in the moment without a lot of life experience to kind of give her that. And so that's the fear she has. I'm with you, though. The emotional reactions she's having are completely congruent with what is being described. Yeah. But again, that description of warrior pose means that she's taken an image that she has from a memory of watching something on TV or a movie and placing it on her own reality, rather than just describing he took an aggressive stance. In other words, she could say he took an aggressive stance with me. That is kind of more pragmatic way of describing that, rather than say he took a warrior pose. Mm-hmm. Interesting phraseology.
It is. It's very interesting. This is a weird one. This is kind of a tough one where I don't believe she's just sitting here lying and trying to tell a story. I think she believes her story, but mm-hmm. I think her prism is off. I think the way that she's seeing the world is not accurate. and I don't think the actions were justified, but I think in her mind they were. So does that make her then,
Totally agree.
A monster, or someone who just really needs help to see the world in a more accurate light? I don't know. Then
it comes down to, after all those things, and I completely agree with you, what's justice in this situation then? I mean, a life has been lost because she has a lack of ability of context of reality. She still took a life.
Yes.
And there's a daughter that says great things about her dad and deeply misses him. So. And
there's a daughter on that end that, wants her mom free. I mean, I think it's kind of sick how they have used the daughter out in front of the courthouse, like, keep my mom free. That I think is kind of shitty. But still, it's like, what is justice here?
Want more of the podcast without the ads?
Then hit subscribe to the True Crime Today Premium Plus channel on Apple Podcasts.
Try it now for 3 days, absolutely free.
You'll get access to all of our extended advance ad-free episodes instantly.
So you can binge without the break. True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Search and subscribe now on Apple Podcasts.